series. We have a very beautiful network that you want to connect to. The sisters are going to start, and sit down. Just wanted to call everybody know that. Where y'all travel from?
Well, I came from Texas, Austin.
All the way from Texas. So, hey, what's happening, bro? It's great. Okay. Sit down.
Look at all these pretty girls in their pretty coats. Beautiful. Okay, so my name is Injera Keith. I'm the founder of Black Sovereign Nation. I came here from Austin, Texas, where we have the first chapter of Black Sovereign Nation. Black Sovereign Nation is an organization that focuses on building autonomy in Black communities. So what we want to do essentially is develop cooperative living pods, like boroughs of Black cooperative living. We've got Kuakubwa, which is a community facilitated and implemented school. It's an alternative to public schooling. We have Farming for Black Freedom, which is our attempt at developing food sovereignty in our communities. We have Black Sovereign Press, which is a platform of newsletters, journals, podcasts, basically reclaiming the media and using it as a tool for our own agenda. We've got the Community Defense Initiative. So in the cities where we have chapters, we have people who patrol our neighborhoods and protect us from outside, external, and internal threats, right? We also have the Black Sovereign Cooperatives. So what that looks like is members of our core leadership already live, work, and study cooperatively, collectively. And then beyond that, to combat housing insecurity, we have a year-long So they contribute to the Web Design Cooperative and accumulate revenue, not only for their house, not only for that property, but for Black Sovereign Nation as a collective. And so what we're in the process of right now of trying to build and expand, right? So we have one of these in Austin, we have one in Atlanta, and that's why we're kind of here in Philadelphia to learn what other groups are already doing this work, which we've heard that there are some, and how we can connect with them and support them, and what things we haven't taken into consideration that we need to consider in other areas of the country. So yeah, that's what we're here to do, just to kind of have this talk and find out where you guys are from and what you're thinking, where you are mentally. Are these all your girls?
And my son.
Oh, and your son. Hi, how you doing, brother? Good to see you. So what, in terms of like alternatives to public school, what do we have here in this area in Philly? Charters.
Now, a lot of, you have like two different types of charter schools as alternatives to public schools. The school system charter schools, and you have corporate charter schools. So, school system, as of now, going through a little bit of turnaround. A lot of the schools, they feel like not teaching correctly, and there's a lot of violence. It's like that they have a lot of different problems, so now they have these charter schools. But even at some of the charter schools, you have to really do your homework on certain charter schools.
Right.
As soon as people hear charter schools and they put a fancy name to it, they want to put their kid in it.
Right.
And what happens is that a lot of especially the corporate charter schools,
I'll bring it in.
their teachers are not teachers. They're people from different, like business community, nursing community.
Right.
They take a certificate and they start teaching. Their background is in whatever their career was in.
Okay, brother, no problem.
And then they take a certificate and they pass and they put them in the schools to teach. If your kid is an A student, then it's easy to teach him because he already knows, how to study. He's getting good grades. But if your student is struggling, is a D or C student, then that teacher has to show his skills, and a lot of times they don't have the skills to reach those kids. And then if that kid continues to fail, then they put him back in the public school.
So what skills do you think those are? Because this is something that we come up against with Kua Kupua, and I'll just give you a little background really quickly. So with Kua Kupua, we recruit members of the community. Like we have PhDs and teachers, people with long history of a career in education, but we really want this to be community implemented. So the same parents who enroll their kids, they have to help facilitate the schooling, right? The educating. And so you're saying that some of the teachers in charter schools lack these skills. I imagine that some of the parents that we're working with will also lack some of the skills that you're talking about. So what are those? Like what comes to mind immediately for you?
As
far as getting through to, you said you have a situation where there's a kid, he's struggling.
Right. Well, I mean, if they're not Philadelphia school teachers, or it don't have to be Philadelphia, but teachers that graduate college or have their, because a lot of the Philadelphia school teachers, they have, some of them have all kinds of degrees, double masters, they have to stay current, and if they don't have if their background's not in education, it's hard to teach. Now, if say if she's a nurse or whatever, okay, if she's teaching along her career, then that's maybe a little easier.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if she's a nurse and her career is in medicine and she's teaching other geography and stuff, she's not gonna be able to, reach.
What skills are you asking, like, specifically? I'm sorry, brother. What skills like, what do you mean? What skills do the parents have or don't they have?
So I was wondering if there are alternatives to the public school system or movements around that here in Philly. And then he was talking about something that we've encountered as a group, the fact that we're recruiting people from the community to jump in and teach our own kids, right? Well, they don't always feel like they have the skills to do that. And maybe they don't.
I think like if you're a banker, if you teach banking, you don't go outside your background, then that'll be a little bit more easier to you. You know what I mean? If you're an architect, you teach architecture. Or if you're an engineer, that's your background. You know what I mean? You have worked for corporations or you have experience and all your degrees is in engineering, then you should be able to teach,
right.
you know what I mean, engineering. But it's hard for engineer to teach geography or engineer to teach maybe certain forms of science because that's not their.
Right.
So if they stick with their background, then you should be able to.
I also think it goes a little bit deeper than that because I feel like a lot of teachers that are in the field, even if they do have that training and they got those teaching degrees, I really think it comes down to your intention and if you love those students and if they look like you and their relatability.
Right. Because
a lot of these teachers, they come from places that they don't see brown and black faces, so they come in with preconceived notions and certain expectations of what our students are like, or they don't have the expectations that we have for them. And I think that shows through in the teaching. So I think, like, at the minimum, I think you need to be able to love somebody and care about them teaching.
Well, another thing that I think, and this is kind of speaking to what both of you are saying, but the training that we look for to validate certain people to teach our children is white supremacists. It comes from white supremacist institutions. And so I feel like we're trying to create this alternative, this new system that doesn't exist. And so we have to get creative in terms of how are we gauging whether or not someone's qualified to teach our child.
It exists. It exists. What's happening is that certain social things have to manifest collectively and personally for things to grow at times. So we're now in a moment in history, or a moment in time, where we're seeing this old white supremacist model, public school systems and all, is falling apart. Now they're starting to incorporate all of the ideology and concepts from the independent schools that we have had in the past and what we have right now. Philadelphia does have independent black schools. My daughter goes to one. So I'm involved. So the thing is, it's really about practice. What it all comes down to for me, and relating to us, is culture. Do you practice any of the principles of your culture? Because if you do, all of us in here are validated already.
I agree.
And when I say that, here's what I study environmental science. That's one of my jokes. I collect environmental science data. Went to college for it. Right. So, and I try to connect myself with all those resources. So what happens is that since I studied that field, if there's anybody who wants to start studying in that field, I'm the person, I'm one of the people, as many of us,
Yes.
to talk to, so that you can get the basic framework of how this works,
Right.
and how it works in your daily life.
Right.
Now, my knowledge, or the knowledge that I've, it's not mine, I don't own it, but the knowledge I've acquired, and along with many other elders, you now have a prototype and a text to use with your students.
But that's what I
So
was
even
saying.
if you, hear me out, brother.
Okay.
So even if you are an engineer, you have an environmentalist to talk to. If you are a cook, you have a chemist to talk to. There is people who specify in those areas, and those people are the ones you go to for that knowledge. What we have to get back, an African tradition that we got to get back to is the, why is my brain going to blank? Apprenticeship. We have to get back to being apprenticeship. Apprenticeship is the easiest and most accurate form of education. That is the most ancient form of education on the planet, and will soon replace college. College is about to be out of here. Number one, because of computers, of course. Okay, you can take the course online now. The other reason why college is going to be bankrupt is because people got too many, it's too much debt.
Right.
People are under debt, so apprenticeship, and that's African culture. In fact, if you study health, one of the things you ever read the creed of health, the creed of a doctor, the actual Greek creed, the creed of Apollo, the creed of Asclepius. You take an oath, yeah, that's right. You take an oath to Asclepius. And in that oath, you also say, and it is my duty to pass on this knowledge to the youth, so that they, and to various families, so that they may be prosperous and be able to provide for their own families. That's in the oath of Asclepius, which every doctor says.
But they don't do that.
They don't, of course not. And that's the point, and this is where we go back to our culture. The oath of Asclepius is the oath of Imhotep. And that is your oath, that is your knowledge. What those ancient Greeks learned in Kemet, because Asclepius is another form of Imhotep, you know that. What they learned there is what we have to implement and what we have been implementing.
So I think that
Yeah.
you're kind of segueing into something that's important to me to talk about.
There you go.
Particularly in relation to Kubwa and alternative systems of education built by us. There's a certain, so we are equipping the students and the children with knowledge, but there's also an unloading, an unlearning, an unconditioning that has to happen that the teachers in our program are kind of facing now, right? When developing this curriculum, how do we, what miseducation has already taken place, and how do you combat that as you bring, you know, as you're enrolling students into this school that features a curriculum that's supposed to teach them self-determination or help them understand concepts of autonomy. And going back to what you were saying about engineering and environmental science, we believe all of that needs to be taught from a perspective of autonomy. So you do need math. What do you need it for? Okay, you're gonna contribute to building houses in this village. You're gonna contribute to developing irrigation systems in this village, right? And giving the kids that perspective. But beyond introducing them to those things, how do we get rid of the trauma? How do we heal them from the trauma that they do? So they contribute to the Web Design Cooperative and accumulate revenue, not only for their house, not only for that property, but for Black Sovereign Nation as a
And by our, I mean, my children are part of a homeschool collective that's been in existence since 2005. So, we started as an independent school, but we went more to the homeschool model for economics, and also because we found that the most important thing is that we as African people have a mentality that school is a place where we drop our children and somebody's supposed to make them into something. And then we just go pick them up and then it's almost like we put the biscuits in the oven and then the oven's gonna cook them. Like, no. So when you put it in a homeschool model, you realize that you're the oven. And if you're the primary educator and responsible for it, whether you outsource some of that or not, you're still the primary educator. And so we found that the homeschool model was better because it put the families, it put the mother and the father, made them primary. In other words, you have to be involved in this process. You cannot drop your children off, come back and expect them to be finished product without your involvement. So that's the first thing. So when I say we, I'm talking about the homeschool collective that we're a part of. So as far as we're talking about healing and getting over, that's a two-step process. It's something that we refer to as re-Africanization, and some people add the other part, which is de-whitenization. I say re-Africanization because I feel like that can come from both parts. As you re-Africanize yourself, meaning, as you re-Africanize yourself, you will also consequently at the same point in time de-whitenizing yourself. So what am I saying? Just to be short. I think sometimes, and I know this is going to sound cruel, I think we focus too much on African healing. The healing is in the doing.
Say it again.
The healing is in the doing. Even when you suffer a broken bone or a cut, there's a point in time when you first suffer that injury that you have to stay still and focus literally on healing. But soon thereafter, the doctor or the therapist gets you up and you have to start moving because that too is part of the healing. I think sometimes as African people, we sit down and we literally wait for everything to be 100%, then we're going to start the therapy.
Yes.
You can't do that. It's not, it doesn't work that way. The healing is in the action. We have to continue to move. We have to continue to grow. We have to continue to develop. And the last thing I'll say, and I'll be quiet, is we have to stop focusing on the injury as well. Not saying that the injury didn't happen. What white folks did to us and the trauma that we suffer as a result of this transatlantic slave trade and Jim Crow and all the way to the present day, those are real things that happen and we still suffer from. Those things are real. I don't want to minimize it, but what I do want to say is that sitting there focusing on that is not going to help us get over that. What's going to help us get over that is action. We have to, in other words, to blame the white man for what he's done to us is truthful, but it's still our responsibility to overcome the injury. And I think sometimes as a people, and I'll be quiet, when we focus too much on the injury or on the healing, we have a tendency to want to focus on the perpetrator of the injury and not on the responsibility of self to get over that injury and then move forward. And I'll stop there.
That's so powerful what you said. The healing is in the doing. And so what I take from that in terms of the curriculum is that when you're talking about re-Africanizing, right, just in soaking them in this love and in this curriculum and in this new perspective, that in itself will heal them of the trauma that they just experienced in public school. That's what I got from what you said.
Well, yes, if they've gone through that trauma.
Okay.
But the goal should be, and this is what I think you, and I don't know a lot about your institution, is they should never suffer that public school trauma in the first place.
That is true. Some of the parents that we enrolled, though, their child, let's say they're in the 5th grade, they've been in the public school system already,
so they've been institutionalized.
But some of them are. They're brand new. They're 5, you know, and that's super exciting in its own way. So I want to ask you too. So the way that ours works is the members of our organization go to the homes of the parents and they help them facilitate these lessons for 3 days of the week. And then 2 days of that week, we take those students on site and they get to interact with one another. And so we do still have people in the homes with the parents or on site with the students to relieve the burden because they have to be at work. So how does it work for your homeschooling collective? Are the parents taking turns? Like how do parents work and participate in this?
Very good question. The other thing we found as a result of the homeschooling model is that, and again, everything affects everything else. It's very, very difficult, and I'll be quite honest, to be a homeschooling parent and be a single parent.
Right.
You have to have the support of a mate, You have to have the support of a parent, uncle, somebody in that family, older brothers. If somebody has to help you be able to do that, because you really can't effectively homeschool without volunteers,
Right.
and without at least one parent being able to hold down the economics while the other parent. And sometimes it's a tag team. For example, one of the families in our homeschool collective, the father is a professional artist, so he works from home. So he able to facilitate some of that. And the wife works outside of the home, but she works on a schedule that allows her to work odd hours. In other words, she doesn't work a typical 9 to 5. So when father's home doing whatever, she's able to work, and then vice versa, able to switch off. So the first thing is, again, we have to have that two-parent family model. It's going to be almost impossible to do a homeschool thing without two-parent family. If you don't have two-parent family, maybe your mother can help you, or your father can help you, because somebody has to earn the bread. Somebody has to do that. So it's almost impossible to do without it.
So that is why we're coming in to kind of intervene so that this can happen while parents still work, right? And so that's kind of the purpose of it. That support that you're describing that you need is us. That's what I'm. That's
so your organization is that support.
That is exactly.
Okay.
And so, but we do require, because what you said earlier was so powerful. By the way, I was homeschooled. I'm one of 8. We were all homeschooled.
Okay.
And so, when we started this, I had people.
Yeah.
I had elders. I
Yes.
had parents and grandparents to say, like, okay, parents have to be involved. 'Cause let me tell you, this is what will happen otherwise. It'll be a daycare, right? And so we saw that, right?
Exactly.
And so now we are getting the investment from the parents in what they can take on, right?
Right.
So when we meet for 2 days, if this is your schedule, you only work from 8 to 12. Then from 12 to 4, we need you to be here with a larger group of the kids, right? But we do still carry the burden of, most of the burden of facilitating all of this and planning all of this. And so we are in this space where we're needing to figure out how to make sure that we're transitioning to autonomy, meaning everyone's invested like you're describing,
Right.
and not just charity, right? And not just we do for.
Right.
And that is the same case, and I wanted to bring this up to you all, with the farming, right? So with our backyard gardening structure, we go and enroll people in the program. We let people know, and we knock on doors and we say, are you hungry? This is what's going on in this neighborhood. We're going to do this. And they say yes. And members of our organization go out every week and maintain these gardens, right? At what point do you get the community to buy in, right? From the beginning, but I mean, you knock on the door, you say food sovereignty, blah, 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 right? They say, oh, you're going to give us a garden? Yes, we want okra. And then some families buy in. Some families go out and work hard in their garden, and some families don't. If we weren't there, their gardens would die. So this is something that we are combating. How do we get the families to really value this, that we've...
This is where I step in. We've done it. It's on film of us doing it in the most dangerous projects in the city of Philadelphia, Blumberg projects. So how it's done, number one, we don't even, like you said, before you even start, go talk to people, knock on the door, that's fine. Flyers, talk with the people. When you talk with people, always gather people of a like mind with you. So whoever amongst the community who really likes the idea, that's the person. That's the person you sit tight this with. The next thing is anticipate that to be the case. So I know that sounds crazy. Once again, it's these things that would sound crazy to people when they hear it, but for people that's been in the field, they will understand it. Anticipate that you're going to have resistance regardless.
Right.
Our people, it's hard to get them to do things that are good for themselves sometimes. You got to make it attractive. So what we did was we made it a thing for the children. So if you would like the children to be able to come outside and be safe and have fun and enjoy themselves and learn, we will give you our paperwork. Here's our numbers, and here we are. This is our background. This is what we do. And these will be the tools. These are the trained people who will be working with them. They will be absolutely safe, in which we proved that already. It was beautiful to catch it on film, too. And we have people from various walks of life work with us, so that's something else to take into consideration. There's nothing wrong with that either.
What do you mean various walks of
Well,
life?
we have people of all walks. We talking, first of all, you want to really get rough with it? We stole it. The city said we were thieves. If you want to. and we walked up on it. We planned it years ahead, and we said, this land that was turned into a trash dump
Right.
will no longer be a trash dump.
Right.
This place will produce enough food for everybody in this neighborhood, and if you were riding past and wanted to get out
That's beautiful.
and get food freely with no gates around it. So when you have a feat of that nature, we're talking about a football field. And we're talking about getting tools from people. So what we did, we stroked when the political pot was hot. We knew that there were people who believed in the same thing we believed in. So we got with those organizations and we did it. And so we had people from college students from Temple, people coming in from the continent, the main branch of us who organized it, and it's our neighborhood. We had environmentalists from European neighborhoods and cultures that came in. And we did was, first of all, I'm the designer. When we hit it, I said right here. This is important. He prayed on the land, I did all the rituals up. And by the time we were done, when we came back, imagine from that door to that corner, because you know this is a block we're sitting in. So from here to about the middle of this block is all food and it's going up this high. And your children can just walk and run through and get any food they want. That's how beautiful it is. And it's still, we rebuilt another one. And besides that, we had to sit down with the city about it and negotiate it, because we took that space, which we really didn't take, we fixed, we cleaned, we healed the process. They were like, well, man. I said, yeah. You're living in a food desert with a bunch of garbage around you and people with no form of food security. This is a violation of human rights. This is a violation of city rights. This is a violation of human rights, period, on all levels of law. Yes.
What you're talking about is you have to change something we call changing the meaning.
Right.
And by our, I mean, my children are part of a homeschool collective that's been in existence since 2005. So, we started as an independent school, but we went more to the homeschool model for economics, and also because we found that the most important thing is that we as African people have a mentality that school kids, we drop our children, and somebody's supposed to make them into something. And then we just go pick them up, and then it's almost like we put the biscuits in the oven, and then the oven's gonna cook them. Like, no. So when you put it in a homeschool model, you realize that you're the oven. And if you're the primary educator and responsible for whether you outsource some of that or not, you're still the primary educator. And so we found that the homeschool model was